You're a costly liability for this organization, Lance. My name's Lance Rodriguez, 47 years old, and I've been spearheading the sales division at Morrison Enterprises for 16 years. I forged connections with every key client from the ground up, sacrificed weekends, skipped family meals. I turned Morrison Enterprises into a recognized name in Denver's manufacturing industry. Noah Henderson, my supervisor, uttered those words while reclining in his plush office chair. The smug grin on his face revealed his true intentions. This wasn't about my performance. It wasn't about outcomes. It was about figures on a balance sheet. 3 entry-level hires could replace you, he said, straightening his tie as if he'd just cracked a global crisis. I sat there, staring at the man who'd been coasting on my achievements for 3 years. Noah joined Morrison as the operations head when the previous director stepped down. He arrived with his shiny MBA and grand ideas about streamlining operations. He began scrutinizing everything the moment he settled in. The irony wasn't lost on me. While he preached about slashing expenses, I was driving 60% of our revenue. My client bonds were the company's foundation. Yet Noah saw dollar figures where I saw handshakes and trust cultivated over years. I understand, I replied calmly. Good, security will walk you out. Your access badges are already disabled. I nodded, stood, and left. No slamming doors, no shouting. I went to my desk and packed my belongings into a cardboard box, the framed picture of my wife and kids, the mug from the Chicago Construction Expo, the paperweight my daughter crafted in Medeir School. My team watched from their workstations as security escorted me to the elevator. Jennifer, my assistant of 8 years, had tears in her eyes. She knew every client's birthday, their children's names, their favorite dining spots. We'd built something authentic here. As the elevator descended, I recalled a conversation I'd overheard the previous week. Noah on the phone, discussing trimming overhead and boosting profits. He'd specifically mentioned my salary. Said the company could hire 3 recent graduates for my pay. What Noah failed to grasp was that those graduates would inherit contact lists, not relationships. There's a distinction between a name in a system and someone who personally steps in when a client's business is in trouble. The elevator hit the ground floor. I walked through the lobby I'd entered daily for 16 years, carrying my box of memories. Noah thought he'd made a savvy financial move. He had no clue what he'd unleashed. I joined Morrison Enterprises right after college. Back then, it was a modest operation led by Tom Morrison himself, 20 staff, 2 salespeople, and a vision to rival major manufacturers. Tom valued relationships. Sell to the individual, not the corporation, he'd always say. When Tom retired 5 years ago, his son-in-law became CEO. That's when Noah came on board. New leadership brought new ideas about cost-cutting and efficiency. The company had grown to 300 employees, but its heart began to fade. My client network wasn't built in a day. Harold Jameson at Pinnacle Builders trusted me because I drove to his site at midnight when his equipment failed during a critical job. Patricia Williams at Westmont Properties kept Morrison on her preferred supplier list because I sent flowers for her daughter's graduation. These weren't deals, they were partnerships. Over time, I noticed shifts in Noah's approach to the sales team. He questioned my travel costs, wondered why client dinners were necessary when emails should suffice, and pushed for remote account management over in-person meetings. Personal touches are outdated, he declared in a team meeting. Modern business thrives on efficiency and digital tools. I tried explaining that construction executives valued face-to-face interactions over email threads. That when Patricia Williams had a $2 million project, she called me directly because she trusted my expertise. But Noah saw those dinner receipts as frivolous expenses. The red flags had been there for months. Noah began holding meetings without me, hired a consultant to dissect sales processes, and asked Jennifer to track my daily tasks in detail. He was laying the groundwork. What troubled me more was how he treated the team. Kevin, a 12-year veteran, was overlooked for a promotion because Noah deemed his salary too high. Maria, our top account manager, lost a major client when Noah insisted she handle their issues through an online portal instead of personal calls. The company's culture was shifting. Tom Morrison used to stroll the office, greeting everyone by name, asking about their families. Noah managed from his corner office with spreadsheets and KPIs. He quantified everything except what truly mattered. My wife noticed the toll it was taking. "You're not yourself when you come home," she said last month, "like you're fighting a losing battle." She was right, I was struggling to preserve something Noah didn't value. Client loyalty doesn't show up in quarterly reports, but it's the bedrock of success. Noah was about to learn that the hard way. The call came at 8 p.m. Patricia Williams from Westmont Properties. Lance, is it true what I heard? Word spreads quickly in Denver's construction circles. Morrison Enterprises had been my professional identity for 16 years, but I was Lance Rodriguez first, Morrison employee second. It's true, Patricia. As of this afternoon, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You built half their business connections. What's Noah thinking? I was in my truck outside a cafe, still reeling from the day. He thinks 3 rookies can run the sales department. Patricia let out a humorless laugh. 3 rookies? Lance, you know my business better than I do sometimes. When we had that permit snag last year, you knew exactly who to call. You think some fresh grad will have those contacts? After Patricia hung up, my phone kept buzzing. Harold Jameson, Frank Torres from Alpine Metalworks, David Baker from Sunset Engineering, all asking the same questions, all worried about Morrison's future. I've worked with you for 12 years, Harold said, never had an issue. Now they're telling me some intern will manage my account. No way. The pattern emerged over the next few hours. My clients weren't just upset about losing me as their point of contact. They were questioning whether Morrison Enterprises was still the reliable partner they'd known. If management could fire their main relationship manager without notice, what other changes were coming? By 10 p.m., I'd heard from 14 major accounts. None expressed confidence in Morrison's decision. Several hinted they'd be reevaluating their supplier contracts. I sat in my home office that night, staring at my phone. These weren't just business contacts anymore. They were bonds I'd nurtured through years of genuine service and personal care. They trusted me, not just Morrison's products. The realization hit hard. Noah had made a critical error. He thought he was cutting an overpaid employee. Instead, he'd severed the personal ties that anchored Morrison's client base. I opened my laptop and started compiling a list. Every major client, their current deals with Morrison, their contract renewal dates, their unique needs and preferences. The data wasn't proprietary, but it reflected years of relationship building that couldn't be duplicated from a file. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Noah's already posted your job online, talking about wanting new ideas and budget-friendly hires. Thought you should know. I smiled for the first time since leaving Morrison's office. Noah was about to learn that new ideas couldn't replace earned trust, and budget-friendly hires meant nothing if clients took their business elsewhere. The game was shifting, and Noah didn't even know he was in it. I stayed professional. No disparaging Morrison Enterprises, no chasing clients, just availability for anyone who reached out. The first test came Thursday morning. Patricia Williams called with an issue. Lance, there's a problem with the Morrison delivery. The specs are wrong, and we need this fixed before tomorrow's inspection. I called their main line, and they transferred me to some kid named Brad. Sounds like he's barely out of high school. Patricia, I'm no longer with Morrison. You'll need to, I know that. But Brad told me to log a ticket online and wait 48 hours for a response. We don't have 48 hours. This could halt our entire project. I paused. This was exactly what I'd predicted. Noah's new system treated every client issue like a tech support query. Give me 5 minutes, I said. I called Morrison's shipping team directly. Spoke to Gary, a 10-year logistics veteran, explained the situation. Got the correct delivery sent out within the hour. Patricia called back that afternoon. Issue resolved. Thank you. But Lance, this is absurd. I shouldn't have to call my old account manager to get basic service from my current supplier. By Friday, the trend was undeniable. Clients were reaching out to me because Morrison's new system was failing. The interns Noah hired were capable but clueless about the relationship side of business. They followed protocols instead of fixing problems. Harold Jameson called Monday morning. Lance, I need to ask you something straight up. Are you joining another firm? I'm looking at options, Harold. Because if you are, Pinnacle Builders values relationships over vendor loyalty. We'd consider moving with you to a company that respects your approach. That conversation shifted everything. Harold wasn't just venting about Morrison. He was practically offering to take his business wherever I went next. I started tracking. By Wednesday, 8 major accounts had expressed similar sentiments, not because I solicited them. Just clients stating their preferences for future partnerships. The real surprise came Thursday afternoon. Jennifer called from her personal phone. Lance, you need to hear what's going on. Noah's panicking. Pinnacle Builders sent a formal notice to end their contract. Said they don't trust Morrison's ability to manage accounts properly. Pinnacle's been with Morrison for 12 years. That's why it's such a blow. Noah called an urgent meeting, told us to ramp up customer retention efforts. But he still thinks it's about sales tactics, not his management choices. The dominoes were falling as I'd foreseen. Noah had calculated my salary costs, but he'd never measured the worth of client loyalty. Those relationships couldn't be handed off like database entries. Friday brought the news I'd anticipated. Alpine Metalworks submitted their contract termination notice. Sunset Engineering followed on Monday. 3 more accounts requested meetings to discuss future vendor arrangements. Noah's cost-saving move was turning into a revenue disaster. The 3 interns he'd hired to replace me handled orders efficiently. But they couldn't stop clients from leaving. They lacked history with these companies, no trust, no personal bonds. The irony was flawless. Noah had let me go to cut payroll costs. Now he was losing millions in revenue by dismantling the relationships that drove that revenue. My phone rang Tuesday evening. Frank Torres from Alpine Metalworks. Lance, I'll be blunt. Corvus Manufacturing offered me a role as their business development director. They need someone who gets client relationships in the construction industry. I recommended you for their vice president of client relations position. Interested? I was very interested. The interview with Corvus Manufacturing revealed something unexpected. They'd been planning to challenge Morrison Enterprises for months. We've been studying the Denver market, said CEO Rebecca Stone. Morrison has strong client ties, but their operational efficiency is slipping. We see a chance to offer better service to their clients. I sat across from Rebecca in her downtown office, processing her words. Corvus wasn't just hiring me as a sales leader. They were crafting a strategy to undermine Morrison's market dominance. What accelerated your plan? I asked. Rebecca smiled. Your availability. We'd planned to spend 2 years building relationships from scratch. With your industry connections and client knowledge, we can move much faster. The offer was significant. Vice President of Client Relations, 30% pay raise. Equity share, full control to build a sales team focused on relationship management rather than transactional processes. There's one condition, Rebecca said. We need to act fast. If Morrison realizes their mistake and tries to rehire you, this opportunity vanishes. I thought about the calls from former clients. Their frustration with Morrison's new approach, their willingness to consider other vendors, their direct requests to work with me personally, regardless of company. When would you need me to start? Next Monday. We've already set up office space and support staff. We just need your decision. That evening I called Patricia Williams, not to pitch business but to get her candid take on Morrison's current state. Lance, I'll be honest. Morrison's service has tanked quickly. The new staff don't understand our business. They treat us like just another order number instead of a 12-year partner. Have you looked at other suppliers? We're open to better service. Why do you ask? I shared my situation with Corvus. Patricia paused. So you're asking if we'd give Corvus a shot because of our relationship with you? I'm asking if personal attention and quality service still matter in choosing vendors. Lance, they matter more than you know. Construction runs on trust and dependability. When my project manager needs something, he doesn't want to file a form and wait for a reply. He wants to call someone who knows our business and can fix issues on the spot. I had similar talks with 6 other clients over the next 2 days. All echoed the same view. They prioritized relationships over vendor loyalty, service over cost, problem-solving over rigid processes. The situation clarified. Noah hadn't just fired a high-paid employee. He'd created an opening for a competitor to capture Morrison's most valuable asset, established client relationships. Friday afternoon, I called Rebecca Stone and accepted the role. Excellent. One more thing, Lance. We've researched Morrison's recent moves. Your former boss has made similar cost-cutting decisions in other departments, losing several veteran employees in the past 6 months. Their institutional knowledge is walking away. What does that mean for Corvus? It means Morrison Enterprises is more vulnerable than they realize. They're focused on slashing costs while competitors prioritize better service. That's not sustainable. I hung up with a clear picture of the situation. Noah's management approach wasn't just hurting sales. It was weakening Morrison's entire market position, and I was joining a company poised to capitalize on those weaknesses. Monday morning couldn't arrive soon enough. My first day at Corvus Manufacturing began with a team meeting. Rebecca introduced me and outlined our strategy. Our aim isn't to undercut Morrison on price, she said. It's to deliver the personalized service their clients used to get but no longer receive. The team was small but seasoned. 3 account managers with construction industry sales experience, a project coordinator who understood clients' technical needs, an operations manager who valued problem-solving over protocol adherence. Lance will focus on building client relationships based on quality service and personal care, Rebecca continued. We're not asking anyone to ditch their current suppliers. We're offering an alternative when those suppliers fail to meet expectations. My first call was to Harold Jameson at Pinnacle Builders, not to pitch business, but to inform him of my new role, Corvus Manufacturing. I've heard positive things. New player, but they've got solid funding and quality equipment. Harold, I'm not calling to ask for your business, just letting you know where I landed if you need to reach me. Thanks, Lance. Actually, I'm glad you called. We're starting a new project in March and need vendors who provide the hands-on service we're used to. Would Corvus want to submit a bid? Within 2 weeks, I'd received similar inquiries from 4 major accounts. All were long-time Morrison clients frustrated with the decline in service quality. The key was patience. I wasn't stealing clients. I was available when they sought alternatives. Meanwhile, Jennifer kept me updated on Morrison's situation. Noah had hired 2 more interns to manage the growing workload, but client complaints were piling up. The new hires could process orders efficiently, but couldn't handle relationships. He's still convinced it's a training issue, Jennifer said over coffee. Keeps talking about better customer service protocols. Doesn't get that protocols can't replace personal bonds. The breakthrough came in February. Westmont Properties requested bids for their biggest project of the year, a $15 million commercial complex requiring 18 months of supply chain coordination. Patricia Williams called me directly. Lance, we're taking proposals from 3 vendors. Morrison, of course, since they've handled our work for years, but we're also exploring options. Is Corvus interested? Definitely. What's your timeline? Proposals due March 1st. Decision by March 15th. But Lance, this isn't just about price or specs. We need a vendor who understands our business and can adapt to issues. The kind of service you used to provide at Morrison. I spent 3 weeks crafting that proposal. Not just pricing and product details, but a comprehensive service plan emphasizing personal attention and quick issue resolution. The approach Morrison once championed before Noah prioritized efficiency over relationships. The day after submitting our bid, Harold Jameson called with game-changing news. Lance, just a heads up. Morrison lost the Silverton project. Clients said their new account system was slow and impersonal. $20 million project went to a competitor. $20 million? That's what I heard. And there's more. Word is Morrison's facing cash flow issues, lost several big accounts in the past 2 months. People are questioning if they're still a dependable long-term partner. The dominoes weren't just falling, they were triggering an avalanche, and Noah still didn't see it. The email arrived Tuesday morning at 8:47 a.m. Rebecca forwarded it with a brief note, thought you'd want to see this. Morrison Enterprises was requesting a meeting to discuss potential partnership opportunities with Corvus Manufacturing. The sender was Noah Henderson. I read it twice. Noah wanted a conference call to explore how Morrison and Corvus could collaborate to better serve Denver's construction market. What's he after? Rebecca asked when I called. He's realized what's happening. Morrison's lost 6 major accounts in 3 months, all now with Corvus. He's desperate. The meeting was set for Thursday afternoon. Noah, 2 Morrison executives, Rebecca and me. Noah didn't know I'd be on the call until he heard my voice. Good afternoon, everyone. Lance Rodriguez Corvus, silence, then Noah's voice strained with recognition. Lance, I didn't know you were with Corvus since January. I'm their vice president of client relations. The discussion that followed was predictable. Noah framed Morrison's client losses as market shifts and suggested Corvus and Morrison could avoid harmful competition by splitting the market geographically. What Morrison's really asking, Rebecca said after letting Noah speak for 10 minutes, is for us to stop offering better service so they don't have to step up. That's not what I mean, Noah shot back. I'm saying there's space for both companies to thrive without losing clients. Noah, I said calmly, the clients didn't leave. They chose better service. There's a difference. Silence lingered for 30 seconds until Noah spoke, his voice quieter. Lance, Morrison would like to discuss your return. We've made some structural changes that might address your past concerns. What changes? We're revamping the sales team, focusing more on relationship building and personal client care. the approach you championed at Morrison. I glanced at Rebecca, who was grinning. Noah, I appreciate the offer, but I'm right where I want to be. 3 weeks later, the news broke. Morrison Enterprises was laying off 40% of its staff, including Noah Henderson. The company had lost over $30 million in contracts in the first quarter, forcing operational restructuring and management cuts. Jennifer called that afternoon. Lance, you need to know what went down. The board met yesterday. When they reviewed the client losses, they traced it all back to your firing. Noah tried blaming market trends, but the timing was too clear. How'd they figure it out? Patricia Williams. She sent the CEO a letter explaining why Westmont Properties switched to Corvus, named you specifically, said firing you was the worst business decision she'd seen in 20 years. The letter sparked an investigation. The board found Morrison had lost 63% of its major accounts since January. All cited poor service and lack of personal attention as key reasons for switching vendors. Noah's cost-cutting plan had backfired spectacularly. Instead of saving money, he destroyed the relationships that fueled Morrison's revenue. The 3 interns he'd hired to replace me were capable but couldn't stop the client exodus. That evening, I drove by Morrison's office building. Half the parking lot was empty, with "For Lease" signs in the windows. The company Tom Morrison built over 3 decades was struggling to survive because one man mistook cost for value. I didn't feel triumph, just sorrow for the employees who lost their jobs due to Noah's misjudgment. People like Jennifer, who'd done nothing wrong except work for someone who didn't see that business relationships can't be replaced by efficiency protocols. Some lessons are costlier than others. Noah learned his the hard way. Noah Henderson's reputation in Denver's business community was ruined within 6 months. Industry journals covered Morrison's downfall as a warning about prioritizing short-term savings over long-term client bonds. His LinkedIn profile stayed dormant for over a year as he struggled to find work with firms that valued customer retention. When he finally landed a job, it was with a small company in another state at a much lower salary than he'd earned at Morrison. The executive who once dismissed personal relationships found his own professional network had deserted him when his decisions proved disastrous. Morrison Enterprises never recovered from the mass client departure. The company that once led Denver's construction supply market was forced to sell its assets to a competitor, with many former employees finding roles at firms that prioritized relationship management over cost-cutting. The 3 interns Noah hired to replace me were competent young professionals who deserved better leadership, and most found jobs at companies where their skills could grow under seasoned mentors. I signed my contract with Corvus Manufacturing, surrounded by former Morrison clients who specifically asked to work with me again, recognizing that in business, as in life, trust and loyalty are earned through years of consistent service and genuine care for those you serve. Some values can't be quantified on a spreadsheet, but they ultimately decide a company's success or failure.